people like people who say they're going to do something and then they do it. The marketing thing for this is like, oh, it's banned in prisons in the US because it's like so good.
Really?
Yeah, whether that's true or not. But so the second law is never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies.
Wow.
And whenever we go to do a podcast together, I always think of that rule. Because I'm super unreliable to you and you're super unreliable. Like, we're both, like, you just take, as in, when you first read that, you're like, what, this is, some of the rules, like, you read it and you're like, this is messed up. Like, for example, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Like, stuff like that.
The guy, that's written in there.
Yeah. That's rule number 7. Make other people come to you, use bait if necessary, crush your enemy. Where's my crush your enemy totally? Anyway, but so the friends one, I was like, what's this about? But then I literally, and seriously, it's just like when with friends, you can be less reliable, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Not
you've got more like what's the term? Goodwill. The bank.
Yeah, that's it, right? Not that it's like use your enemy. Not that not because it's also like if you don't have any enemies, learn how to make them. It's like
Does it say that as well?
Yeah. But thinking not about enemies, but about like strangers or people you know less well. Like, I wouldn't for this be like, oh, like, can we push it back? Like, I want to sleep in for 10 more minutes. Or like, you'd be way more like, oh my God, I can't make it. Although that would have made it way more stressful for you on the weekend with Priya. If she was, crying you had like a big call with someone, like an enemy. Not an enemy, but it's like, I don't know, some like big honcho person.
Well, like in those situations, I go out onto like the driveway or I walk into the backyard, but I knew that we needed video on and I was like, oh, fuck, it's dark. Anyway, no, I know what you mean though.
Yeah, you also misspelt your beautiful baby girl's name and I thought you were saying my pizza hasn't gone down yet. I was like, okay, great. This is why we're not recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some of the other rules? Which ones do you apply to daily life?
Oh, yeah, because you're reading this, it's, like in the blurb it says amoral, cunning, ruthless, and instructive. It's like, using wisdom from Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, etc. Like, what it's going to be like. And it's really interesting because it's talks about how humans, we used to just kill each other. Well, in some cases, some parts, sometimes that still happens. So use violence for power. But then in the courts, like in medieval times or whatever, even like before that with the Romans, you use courtship to make power moves. So it's like someone's in charge. The person who wants to like seize power, they're not just going to kill the king, but they're going to like manipulate the things around them to get what they want. Or to like get more power. And so there's an art to that, basically. And it's saying as well, I shared a bit from it in my newsletter that I just loved. because it's saying people will read this and think like, oh my God, this is so messed up, which some of it is just like a lot. But it says some people will say like they don't, wanting power is like messed up and that's what's wrong with the world, and like actually we need to redistribute power, which is a version of power. Like that they're saying, no, these people have power, so you need to give me the power so I can then redistribute as to how I see fit, which means the person redistributing it has the power.
Yeah.
Which is like why communism doesn't work, because it's like a small group of people deciding that everything's going to be equal for everyone. It's like that small group of people, like by default, it's not equal because the people who are getting to decide are the ones who have way more than everyone else.
More power. Yeah, okay. So you don't think it's a good idea that everyone has equal power?
Well, it's just not possible.
Who should have more power?
It's just up for grabs. Like, read this book.
Wouldn't as you become more powerful, it grows exponentially? Is there a limited?
Not necessarily, because then people want to take you down. So that's why there's the playbook, which is stuff like, so some of it's interesting, right? So the law one is never outshine the master, which makes sense, right? And that's something like everyone can apply, because it's just kind of a basic thing. Like people, if someone's kind of above you in some way, like, I mean, no one's above or below anyone, right? In terms of being
like
human.
Some of the rules you've read to me, it sounds like this book is like, be lazy. It's like, don't outshine the master, let other people do the work for you.
That one, I
know those are only 2 examples, but
I think the laws are like clickbait, and then, because I haven't read that chapter about don't get others to do the work, because that doesn't seem to make sense to me. But yeah, no, so conceal your intentions. That's one I was massively breaking when I started this content thing, when I was just like saying everything in my head to the whole world and just saying like everything I was thinking about, which also just isn't a good idea, because naturally we like change, we like reorientate all the time, right?
Yeah.
Our identity is constantly evolving. So saying what you want to do, it's like when you're a kid saying, I want to be this when I grow up. But then obviously it's like it changes. But that still happens when we're adults. It's like, yeah, in 5 years I think I'm going to be doing this. But I actually have no idea. So, and then it's like you lose people, like people who say they're going to do something and then they do it. For some reason it's like the world rewards that. Like people love people who take action.
Mm.
But so if you're saying intentions and then they don't come into fruition for whatever reason. It was like me when I was like, everyone, I'm going to read 100 books.
Yeah.
It's just like...
How many have you read?
Because it's just not how I do books, I've figured out. Like novels I read start to finish, obviously, but... depending on the novel, if I can get through it. But non-fiction books, it's like I just dip in and out. And I don't think there's a problem with that. Because I love, I mean, like now, it's like I've got one idea, like a couple of ideas from it, and then I have so much to say about it, and it's like I want to write about it and share it in my newsletter. I want to speak to random people in the office about it. I want to speak to friends about it, and then it's like I pick up a different idea. And sometimes you need break. Like, imagine reading this night after night, me scheming away, like, court attention at all costs. It's like, it's a bit grim.
I want to read it now. I at least want to read what the 48 laws are and then just interpret them in my own way.
Well, how would you interpret keep your hands clean?
Keep your hands clean. probably, when was the book written? Was it post-COVID?
I don't think you can say COVID or I can't put this on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, true. No, you'll just get one of those warnings at the bottom and then it will intrigue people more.
Oh, yeah, classic.
Keep your hands clean.
Never appear too perfect is one that makes sense. Like, people love knowing that other humans are also, like, vulnerable people with problems like them. It makes you so much more relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. What is the author's credentials?
Robert Greene. I've heard an interview of him. He has a degree in classical studies, been an editor at Esquire. I think, also a playwright. I think in the interview, I heard it was kind of I think it was basically like he was powerless. Like, anytime you read a book like this, it's like, what has compelled the person to write this? Like, probably they experienced the other extreme. So I think he was kind of a bit aimless, wandering around life, like, didn't know what he was going to do, like, for years and years, like, couldn't maybe hold down a job or something. I don't know. And then he decided he wanted to be a writer and wrote that. I'm like absolutely butchering it, but it's something like that. And then he wrote this and it just ended up being this massive, like,
really
his
popular.
And because then he's also written, I found it was in my flat when I moved in, Laws of Seduction, which is so interesting because it explains how so it's like men are talking about that thing before, how it's like you can use violent means to take power. So it's like, thousands of years ago, generally men are physically stronger than women. So men had power over women in that way. So whether this is true or not, or how it actually happened, but this is like how the book's framed, then it's like women learnt this art of seduction to use that power over men. And it has examples of like Helen of Troy and people, and like Cleopatra, people like that.
Yeah.
Women who had a lot of power in history, and how they used like the basic principle that it's like men want to sleep with women. So if you withhold that from them, you can have power over them. Like something like that, right? But then it's like through time, it's like men learned it. And it was like language was more feminine. So it's like language was associated with seduction. But then over time, men learned this art. So like Casanova, apparently, or like men who would use language or like use dress.
Like pickup lines.
What's your pickup line?
No, just that was what that was Casanova, how he used language, was pickup lines.
Was it?
Probably. There's a good pickup line in American Pie about Casanova.
Do you remember it?
You know Oz Striker, the lacrosse player?
In the film?
He's sitting in the film, and he's sitting in his car with this girl, and then he goes my name's Nova, as in Casanova, baby, and then he puts his arm over her shoulder. It's quite funny.
Wow. Did it work? I saw that film when I was like 8. Can't remember.
Really?
Or maybe 10 at a sleepover. It was like at a sleepover and we stayed up all night, and at 5 a.m. we started watching it. And I just remember my nana picked me up and she was like so angry at me.
That you had pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah. Did you get in trouble for pulling an all-nighter, or your parents didn't care?
I don't think I would ever tell them.
Well, they found out. When you're 10, it's like everyone talks to each other. Yeah, I don't think I said. I don't think I told. Anyway.
Did you say that you watched American Pie?
No. I think that was like... Oh, no. I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. So,
okay. Anyway, so Casanova, apparently he used dress and costume as well. He was like really flamboyant. Don't know. I just read the introduction to that book, so.
oh, okay. So so he had 48 laws of seduction as well as
Something
power.
like that. The book's over there somewhere.
Oh, interesting.
No, seduction. So, I don't know. Whenever someone writes a book, actually, I think the publisher makes them do it. Once you get one book deal, it's like you have to write 3 books. You can't just do one.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it looks like now he's made a whole career off it if he's touring. I can ask him to come on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Ask him to write 48 laws of kindness.
I think there's already lots of books on that. No, but see, that's the problem. You can't bait people with something, like you have to appeal to what every human wants, right? So it's like, that's also like how you get big on the internet, right? Or how you sell lots of books or whatever. So it's like, what do people want? They want to be fit, like they want to look attractive. They want to be healthy. They want to look attractive. They want a partner. They want money. Money is the big one, right? And then, power. It's like if you tell someone like, hey, like people aren't on the street like, please teach me how to be kinder. Like, I'm desperate to know. Like, it's like people just want to make their lives better.
Yeah. Interesting. So what are the questions from Twitter? Are these questions that people have asked you to ask me?
Yeah, because everyone was like, I can't believe you get an hour with Neil Ganju. Can you please ask him this? You're like huge on Twitter. Because
Really?
you're not on Twitter anymore, right?
Well, I had to make another account so I could look at links people were sending me because they changed Twitter, or what's it called, X, changed its rules. So if you don't have an account, you can't, well, for a while you couldn't view anything.
Really?
So now I just well, that was, what was it? It was probably a couple months ago or a month ago. Yeah, they changed the rules. So it asked you to log in to view a tweet, which it didn't have before.
Got it. Okay.
So now I lurk around.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like you'd really enjoy it on that. And good collaboration opportunities in your sector.
It was another social media thing that I didn't need in my life. They can be massive time wasters.
Yeah, fair.
But there's also a lot of really cool, good stuff about them, about like social media. I would get most of my news through it, keep in touch with most of my friends through it. But yeah, it can just be a big time waster as well.
What's your biggest time waster with it?
Probably reading with social media. Far out. Probably be Instagram.
Really? Looking at what?
Oh, just opening it and then there's a new post and it's like some news thing or a meme or a funny video. It's becoming, not that I haven't had Facebook for a very 13, 14 years, but I remember when I got rid of it, I was like, no one actually shares anything about themselves, or everything was like a repost or a news thing that someone had commented on, and it feels like Instagram is becoming like that now too.
Really? People aren't sharing photos of their holiday or something?
Oh yeah, no, people post something about their holiday, but a lot of the stories and things like that will just be a repost of something someone finds interesting. That's my what my algorithm's showing me anyway.
Got it. And then, then you're just looking at memes all day.
Yeah, memes or like heaps and heaps of cooking. The algorithm just shows me cooking videos, lots of barbecuing too, which is awesome and inspiring, but also like a massive time waster. Like getting into a rabbit hole of like people cooking like tomahawk steaks on like a open fire. I'm like, I'll never do this.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, so before we talk about the Twitter topics, full disclosure for the audience of why we're doing this. So you've already done your growing up episode early on.
Yes. Yep. About Melbourne Uni, right?
Yeah. No, well, it was the whole story about how you grew up, like getting a scholarship to go to a different school, having rocks thrown at you or something. Because you were wearing a blazer. And then failing second year uni, but getting into Cambridge. Or like the whole story of failing uni, how you overcame it. Yeah, that was cool. That was like so inspiring for people who...
Because for back.
Huh?
I fought back mentally.
Yeah, and verbally.
Yeah.
And then I posted that episode last week when I was in Greece.
I saw that.
Because we did another episode. But so basically that whole episode I was so awkward because I wanted to ask you whether I could ask you. Because basically every episode, none of the episodes are like this, right? All of them, it's like the other person is just speaking about their life.
Is the main person, yeah.
So it's like way less effort for me because I barely talk.
Yeah.
I'm just like...
Have you done the one where you interview yourself?
No.
Do you want? Well, then I should do the interview of you.
Oh yeah, you can if you want.
Yeah.
Brian did an interview with me, but you might ask different questions. I don't know how many people would be interested, but I mean, it's always good. It's like I just need to keep practicing, you know? And
that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm actually getting interviewed. This is kind of cool. So I don't know if it's bad to talk about before I do it, but anyway, I asked the creator of The Big Issue. I invited him on the podcast.
That's awesome.
Lord Bird. So, and his wife asked if she could interview me for her podcast.
Awesome.
So I'm
really
going up to Cambridge and we're doing that this weekend.
Well, I'll be keen to hear that for sure. So there's the guy that made The Big Issue in Cambridge.
What do you mean? Well, he's from the UK.
He's from the UK, yeah. No, I don't know. It's like obviously Big Issue's now sold in has been sold in Australia for a long time. I think it's a really good idea, really good concept.
I forgot it's in Australia. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. But
and they kind of actually in the UK do they sell? Because here they sell it like it's almost like how they sell footy records.
I used to sell footy records. That was my first job.
I know, that's why. Yeah. I wonder if I wonder if it's sold the same way in the UK.
What do you mean? They're like yelling at you.
Yeah, they're just like, big issue, get your big issue.
Yeah, well, you would have known. You were just in London last month. You would have noticed.
I was too petrified of crime the whole time I was there.
Bullshit.
No. The one thing that by the end of it though, I had been told by so many people, don't look at your phone. Like, don't pull your phone out and look up maps or read a message or whatever. I got told probably 5-6 times that it got to the point where I was like, maybe I shouldn't look at my phone. You know what I mean?
Because of the moped things. Yeah. That's been going on.
I didn't see a single, like, nothing. Didn't see a single crime.
The watches are a big one. People come up and take it off your wrist.
I got told that as well, which that one makes more sense than phones. But then I went on to Reddit and then read up on what they do with the phones, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why they do it.
What? They just resell
Apparently
it?
they have. Yeah, well, no, it gets shipped to China and then pulled apart for parts, basically. But when they steal it, they put it into like some special kind of cloth bag that has something in the lining that stops any phone signal getting to the phone, because that will stop people from bricking the iPhone. You know how, like, you can go on to Find My Phone and basically tell Apple to turn it into a brick, but because when they steal it, they chuck it straight into that bag, you lose. When you go to look on Find My Phone, it doesn't. It's just vanished.
And so the parts are more valuable than just reselling the phone.
Oh, maybe it's either parts or they'll like hack the phone so then they can resell it.
Yeah, I thought they were just doing that because mine got stolen in by like a 12-year-old girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't 12. Imagine if she's listening to this, like, I'm 16. I hate you. That's why you got your phone. Yeah, and it was straight away gone.
But yeah, I guess it was. I don't know. It was interesting. It's interesting thinking back on it now, because if I read it in the news, or if I saw like news headlines like phone theft, London, blah blah blah, I'd be like, whatever. But because like it was like friends and like people that I trust were like, oh, be careful with your phone. Like there's all this theft, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, okay, shit. Like made it feel more real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about it. But another theft thing. So after I went to acquire your sponge, it took me 2 days to get home.
Yeah, that's
because of the flights.
Yeah,
so ridiculous. Anyway, so then I ended up having to get a train from Dusseldorf to Belgium to get the Eurostar, but the train was cancelled because someone had stolen the cables over the track, and apparently the conductor said it's like more common in France and Belgium, but now it's like happened in Germany where they're just selling the copper.
The copper, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're in construction. That's the thing. That's the most commonly sold thing on construction sites, right? Because it's lighter than like trying to steal concrete or something.
Yeah.
And more valuable.
And it's more valuable, yeah. But it would be so risky stealing like overhead wiring for a train line.
Yeah. Like proper operation.
Far out. Yeah.
How did we get onto this?
We're talking about the big issue.
What's that got to do with copper? Oh, yeah. Theft. Okay.
No, because they're... Yeah.
Yeah. Your time in London. So, but how this is like not the typical... Oh, yeah. So when I was stranded in Greece, then it was like, okay, but I still have to post the podcast like every Tuesday. Consistency is the key. And that was in my drafts. So I listened to it. And, the reason I didn't post it in the first place was because I was like, I sound like such an idiot it's probably how I'll feel after this one as well, because I never usually talk that much. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm talking about like what news I read. This is so stupid. No one cares. And I sound like an idiot. And I felt super self-conscious because you had said about like, oh, did you hear North Korea like filed a missile or something? And I hadn't heard about it, and I was like, everyone's going to think I'm so uninformed. And then I listened back, I'm like, that's the beauty of listening back to this stuff, right? Because you learn so much about yourself. And your dad actually gave me this advice.
Yeah.
Your dad, who's a doctor, this is so random, but he, just as general life advice, is like, you should practice speaking and then listening to yourself back. And he was like, you already get to do that because you have a podcast. But he was like, I encourage young doctors to do that because it's good to like make sure you understand how you're communicating or something like that. Because you don't have awareness of it in real time, basically.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why before you give a presentation, they say that you should, well, even PowerPoint now records it for you so you can listen back. Have you, I don't know if you've used that feature, but PowerPoint, when you record yourself, you listen back and then it tells you, it's like you're saying too much, you took too long on that slide. It's really, I was quite impressed.
Cool. Yeah, I've also just signed up to night school for speaking.
Interesting.
The class is called Using Your Voice Assertively.
Interesting. There's a book by a guy, the guy who started Fox News, Roger Ailes, and then he lost his job because he's like sexually harassing all of these women at Fox. He had a book called You Are the Voice, which is about communication, because he was Ronald Reagan's advisor when he was running for president. And then he started Fox News. So he was really good at tapping into what people wanted, and especially presentation skills.
Oh, yeah, I think you've told me about this book. Yeah, you know, Warren Buffett as well credits, he did a Dale Carnegie. You know, Dale Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah,
and he was like a kind of, he was like an OG course guy. Whatever, back in the ages ago. And Warren Buffett did
back
one
in
of
like
his...
the 80s.
No, not in like the 40s or something.
Was it?
I have the book. This is what also holds me up, is because my dad's voice is in my head being like, Delia, you're such an idiot. Like,
sorry.
Dale Carnegie was not in the... So this is what my voice, this is what the night school's going to help me with. Okay. Yeah, he was born in 1888. He died in 55. Because all the references are like, it's talking about, I get this confused. I get Dale Carnegie confused with Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. Have you heard of that book?
No.
So that's really interesting one as well. That he's writing about Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate guy.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And Edison, but he's using all these examples of the time, like the.
Hang on, is it Carnegie or Carnegie? Because isn't there that building in New York that's named after the steel one?
Oh, Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah, Dale Carnegie, I'm trying to again, I've read like chapters of both of those books, and then I get excited by the ideas and I have enough to take away with me.
I would argue that how to make friends and influence people is the 40s version of the 48 laws of power. It's just telling you how to manipulate people to do things for you.
That's a very cynical way of looking at stuff. And you have said that to me before. Have you read the book?
I read it when I was in my early 20s, maybe 20 or 21. My next door neighbor read it and told me, he was like, mate, you should read this book. And he was working in a warehouse somewhere, like a packing and picking. And he said that after he read the book, he became the most popular guy on his shifts because he was just using all of the lessons from the book to basically manipulate people around it.
Yeah, but manipulate carries certain connotations with it. But we're constantly manipulating our environment, right? And our thoughts to achieve like what we want. I mean, first you need, yeah. Okay, but I'm wondering if you think that because you naturally have those skills.
Oh, look, I know that it's got negative connotations, and I don't think it's a bad book, but I think that the kind of psychological tricks that he teaches you, like I can see why it's incredibly popular for salespeople.
Yeah, but if you do it genuinely, but what about if I'm trying to genuinely connect with people? Okay, for example, like you are naturally way better with people than me, for example. Like you love making random people laugh, like the airline people at the airline counter or whatever. Like the people who usually would not be friendly interactions, you like do so well at interactions. Naturally, like I assume, yeah, that's just naturally how you are. Whereas for me, if I'm trying to like, it's like, oh, I mean, I'm not that bad, but you know, there's like a scale, right? There are some people who cannot connect with other people and they actually need help. And say then for me, it's like, okay, yeah. I would like to be able to connect with people better. Like I really want my boss to like me. Like I can't seem to connect with them, something like that. And then you read this book and it's like, oh, this is how to win friends. Use the person's name. Like everyone likes hearing their name. But you know, you can see when people do it too much and they've read the book and they're just like constantly like, actually it was interesting. Tony Abbott said my name a lot in the interview I did with him, but it came off as like obviously it's a politician thing that they're taught to speak, to acknowledge the person and to make sure you're talking to them. And it didn't come off like badly, but it just came off like, oh, this is, I don't know. It was just, I just noticed that he was doing it.
You noticed that he said it a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I don't know how much you've read of the book, but one of the things that he mentions is if you want to kind of strike up an engaging conversation, and I'm probably butchering it because I haven't read it for more than 10 years, but I think the example he gives is like, oh, if you see on someone's desk they've got like a photo of, say it's fishing, and there's a photo of them fishing, then what you should do is learn everything you can about fishing, so the next time you talk to them, you can talk about fishing. And I was like, I can see how that would work, but also that doesn't seem genuine.
Okay, that's like too much learning. I don't think it says learn everything about fishing. I think
maybe not everything.
I use that as well when I'm interacting with someone. So, for example, like in the office, having lunch or whatever. When I meet someone, it's like, okay, because maybe this is because I know I can talk too much about myself. Like maybe I'm doing it in this interview. Like I just get too excited and then I want to speak. But it's like, no, Delia, you have to let the other person speak. No one cares about all the random shit you want to talk about all the time. So it's like slowing yourself down to be like, hang on, how can I make sure this person's also having an enjoyable conversation? Not because you want to get something out of it, but just because it's like, hey, I want to make sure, I want to like get along with everyone. It's like you love trying to make someone, a random person, laugh, like the person serving you coffee. So it's like, okay, how do I make sure we both have an enjoyable interaction? Why don't I ask about like what this person's doing? And then
That's that's like an ego thing for me, because when they laugh, I go, yes, I am funny.
Yeah, you get so upset if people don't say hi back, right? If you're hiking or something and everyone's like, hi, 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 and someone doesn't say it.
Yeah, that, or if someone doesn't wave back on a boat.
On a boat?
Like, yeah, you know when you go past a boat, you wave at it and then they always wave back?
I didn't know that was a rule necessarily.
I don't think it's a rule, but anyway.
What, a boat down the Yarra?
Yeah, definitely a boat. The smaller the distance between you and the other boat, all the more reason to wave.
Okay. So you get upset about that?
Not upset, I just go, far out. Like, life is short, be happy, wave back.
Yeah, so it's
not that hard.
So it's a similar thing. It's like writing a book. If someone wrote a book, how to get people to wave back. It's like the same vibe. Okay, here's the one,
but then all of the rules were like manipulate them so they have to wave back.
No, they're not. It's just like, yeah, sorry, to finish my sentence, it's like you start talking to someone and then you find out what they're interested in, because they might tell you like, oh, like I rode my horse on the weekend or something. I'm just thinking of one girl I used to work with who was obsessed with horses. So then it's like, oh, guess how, if I run into her, how can we have a pleasant interaction? Why don't I ask her about her horses? Like, I don't know anything about dressage or whatever, but it's like, I know she'll want to talk about it. And then it's like, that person's having a positive experience. And then it makes you feel happier, because it's like, it doesn't have to be like super manipulative. But and then it's just like a volume game, right? Like if you're generally having positive interactions with people, well, one, you feel happier, but also when the time comes when you do actually need something, or like need a favor, or need like an introduction or something, it's like, well, yeah, people are more likely to help you. But it's like a long run thing. I don't think it should be like, I'm going to pinpoint this person to make them like me, because that just doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Anyway, the talking course that you're doing.
Oh, yeah, wait, no. So here's the Warren Buffett one. The article in the FT. That when he was at Columbia, wait, is this true? Apparently, in his office in Nebraska, he displays only one certificate of his education, and it's for completing the Dale Carnegie course in effective speaking, leadership, training, and the art of winning friends and influencing people, dated January 23, 1952.
Interesting. I have heard that. I've heard something along. I thought it was the only book he has in his office is that book. Something like, some anecdote.
Yeah, who knows if that's true. But this isn't the FT, so my favourite publication. There's a HBO documentary about him.
Do you think the FT is too anti-China?
To be honest, as I said in our last episode together, I just listened to the FT news briefing, which is like 10-minute podcast. I occasionally, if I don't have anything to do at work, I'll just have the FT like open.
No, but you can, if you have the phone app, you can just listen to the articles. It's like audiobook. This AI voice just reads out the article for you.
Yeah. Maybe I should read more news, but maybe not.
The best part about it are the comments. The comments on the FT app are better than news.com.au comments. The
I don't
the
like
arguments
reading
people
comments.
get, the arguments people get in, a classic.
And you
Yeah,
just
well, that I
find that
think that'll be.
entertaining.
Well, I find it entertaining because they're like, I think because some of the people who comment, they're quite witty, so it's like it's not ha ha. Look at those people having an argument. It's like, oh, that's quite funny. It's good. There can be good quality humor, I think. But the talking course sounds good.
Well, yeah, I'll be able to update you in due course. It's like 2.5 hours once a week. Intense.
That's really cool.
Um,
Well, it'll be interesting to see the podcast, like see if things change.
yeah, well, hopefully they do. That's why I'm doing it.
You start like talking. Are you going to use your hands more in the video, or isn't that a thing?
Yeah, but I'm less worried about that. It's more how slow I am because it's like I overthink. Like what I was saying before when I'm like, oh, my dad's voice is in my head.
Oh.
It's like I'm not speaking fluently enough because it's like I'm holding myself back. That's why I think the assertiveness piece is good. Actually, but yeah, so the last podcast I did that I've released was with Dr. John Collins, who is a nuclear physicist, and he developed the lab-grown diamond at De Beers when he was at De Beers. So I did a first episode with him, and then last week we did another one because he was like, I have so much more to talk about. And then anyway, so we're talking about various things, but towards the end, it was just like me listening to him talk. But then towards the end, he said something about how billionaires should do X, Y, and Z. And then and how like energy companies are like making too much money or something. And then I was like, I can't not say, I can't have this stuff be said that I just so disagree with. So I have to speak. And then, so I was just saying how the argument of like other people should do this, why I don't like that argument and how it breaks down. Because he's saying like the ultra wealthy, and it's like, yeah, to 99% of the world, you're the ultra wealthy. It's like it's just like an objective thing. Anyway, you can listen to the podcast. Then it was also about public companies making too much money, but I was explaining like we're invested in that because like our pension money is invested in these companies, how this mechanism actually works. And he was like, oh, I actually don't, like, you're the finance person, I actually don't understand, like, how does a pension work? And then so I was like talking through that and explaining how this rhetoric of like whatever, these companies are like taking something from us. It's like that's not exactly how it works. Anyway, but then I was kind of like, oh my God, what is this podcast now that I have to post where I'm saying all this stuff? Then I listened back and I was like, this is so much fun. And like, I really enjoy, like, I don't know. It was like, I really enjoy having those conversations and being like, because then he was like, oh, okay, I didn't understand that. So like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then it makes me like, did I explain that right? Like, I want to get better at making sure I can explain stuff. And like, this is a really good feeling when someone's like angry about something, but to help all of us understand of like how to solve a problem and move forward together. And it's like, this is okay. I don't think I'm explaining it right.
No, it sounds like you had a productive conversation.
Yeah, and it was like to do with using my voice.
Yeah, no, it'll be really good. One of the best ever corporate training things I've been put through was at NIDA in Sydney.
Wow.
The National Institute of Dramatic Arts, I think. So these actors basically for a day told us how to talk to people in the office and even on the phone, which was quite funny. But
that's great.
It was really good. Everyone who was there thought it was awesome, and you could see people kind of using what they'd learned in the office afterwards.
Amazing. Okay, I'm running. I need to run to work, but
No worries.
these. Can I just give you a teaser of some of the topics I was going to talk about? And maybe we can talk about them another time. Okay, so pyramid schemes, I do really want to talk to you about this point. Okay, so there's pyramid schemes.
Schemes, yeah.
Morally reprehensible AI with these images of women. Anti-Semitism on Twitter. Why would I ever take holidays, ever? Someone who's never taken a day off. And I wanted to tell you about... Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Like, they've never taken a day off work. And they don't understand why they would. And I had an interesting conversation. Okay. Stock kids being used for stock photos. Did you see that newspaper in Western Australia that was like, how do we stop this boy from becoming a toxic male or something? And it was
a photo of just a random...
It was a stock photo. But then it's like people are used as like examples of pedophiles and stuff. They're stock photos.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, that's just random. That's random thoughts I had. Pyramid schemes, though, is the one I really want to talk about.
Really? Like multi-level marketing?
Yeah, but it's like pervasive through all these different, I'm like seeing it everywhere in this like content, internet, money, Twitter world.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So I'll have to tell you about it. Okay, but I really have to run.
Okay, no worries. Thank you very much, and signing off.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, feel free to share it with someone. And also, a random 23-year-old just messaged me on Instagram and told me he found the podcast through the algorithm. So it actually does help if you review the podcast and subscribe or follow. And then you get to find out about future episodes as well. Review or rate, you know what I mean. Anyway, it would truly make my day. So thank you in advance.